Okay, so now instead of me giving you the equation and you finding the important information and then graphing it, okay, I'm going to give you the important information or the graph, and you're going to tell me the equation. Okay, so we're not really adding new pieces. It's pieces that we already know. We're just going to be manipulating them and looking at them from a different perspective. Okay? So everything that we are looking at every day, there's only one topic in this quest we are going on, which is writing equations of lines. Because the reality is we don't just want to be able to graph lines, we want to be able to use them in the real world. And using lines in the real world pertains to data, and being able to deal with data means that we can write equations of lines. So there are three ways, sort of based on what we have, that we can write equations of lines. Option number one is that we can write the equation of a line if we are given, or we can find, a slope and y-intercept. So if we are given a slope and a y-intercept, what formula from the ones we've talked about do we think we should use? Slope-intercept form. So if we're given a slope and a y-intercept, we are going to use slope-intercept form. So if we know that the slope equals 3 and the y-intercept equals 7, do we agree that we should just be able to plug m and b into y equals mx plus b format?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to replace the m with 3, we'll replace the b with 7, and we'll get y equals 3x plus 7. And you will literally have questions on your quest that are that.
That's easy.
Okay, what if we have m equals 0 and b equals 4?
And you would have an undefined slope. No, zero.
Oh, a 0 slope. And so what would we write for our equation?
Y equals 4.
So we could say y equals 0x plus 4, right? But do we need that 0x in there? No, so this is really just y equals 4. Are we okay on that? Option 2. We can write the equation of a line if we are given, or we can find, undefined slope. What does a line that has undefined slope look like?
Vertical.
A vertical line. And what does the equation of a vertical line look like?
That's y.
X equals.
X equals. Okay, so if we have undefined slope, we will use x equals a number. We'll have to figure out what that number is from the information. I can't say m equals undefined and my b equals something because undefined slope doesn't have a y-intercept. Okay, so if m is undefined and my x-intercept is 4, as soon as we read that it's undefined slope, we're going to x equals, bless you, and what does x equal?
4.
4. Okay, how about we know something about a line, like it has undefined slope, and it passes through the point 2, 7. Cade, what do you think?
You go to the point 2, 7, and you draw a vertical line.
Yeah, but what is the equation of that line going to
The
be?
equation would be x equals 2.
Why 2?
Because 2 is the x.
Excellent, right? So this is an ordered pair, x comma y. And in that ordered pair, the x value is 2. Doesn't matter what the y coordinate is, right? Because a vertical line is going to have the point 2, 7, 2, 8, 2, 9, 2, 9.1, 2, 9.12, 2, 9.1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, right? Are we okay on that? So far, so good? Okay, so these are 2 ways that we can write the equation of a line. There are 3 ways. These are 2 of them. So if we take that information and now let's say we're given this. Now I'm making points on my line because I can't draw a perfect line. But let's say we want to write the equation of this line. What do we think? Okay, so maybe rise over run is going to be important. So do we agree we can find the slope of this line? Okay, so we can count how many we go up. So how many do we go up? 2. And how many do we go over? 3. So slope is 2 over 3. That by itself isn't enough information. Can we find a y-intercept on this line?
Yes.
Yes. What letter do we use for y-intercept? B. So what does B equal?
3.
3. So now we have a slope and a y-intercept, which is what situation 1 was.
Yep.
And so we can then plug this into y equals mx plus b
So
and
y
say y equals,
2/3 x plus 3.
and there's the equation of that line. Right, we just did everything in reverse order. Yesterday I would have given you this, you would have found this, you would have graphed this. Right, now I'm giving you this, you found these, and you found that. Questions there? Okay, so we sort of see how those first 2 options work. Option 3. We can write the equation of a line if we are given or we can find, what do we think is going to be our other option?
The x intercept.
We need 2 things, so what 2 things do you think?
X and Y intercept.
X and Y intercept would be what form?
Standard.
Standard form. How do we feel about going from an X and Y intercept into standard form?
I don't know.
Would that be a little bit more tricky to do? Could we just take an X and Y intercept and then write an equation in standard form?
Well, you'd have to have a number.
We would need some more things, right? We'd have to think about that a little bit more. We're going to talk about that later. Okay, so what's then our third option? We've done slope-intercept. We just talked about standard.
Point slope.
Point slope.
Point and slope. So if we are given or we can find a point and a slope. And we're going to talk about how this actually takes care of standard form as well, because intercepts are really points.
Wait, for standard form, you just plug your point in. And
You just do some rearranging.
oh.
Now, this is where we're going to spend the majority of the time, because hopefully we agree that option 1 and option 2 are like, okay, yeah, I just plug in some numbers. Okay, this is where we are going to spend the majority of our work. This is our quest to do this option. Okay, so point slope form, right? When we're given a point slope, we're going to use point slope form. You will still be provided these formulas on the test. If you do not know point slope form by the time we take the test next week, I will wonder where you have been. Because we are going to use it so many times, you will be sick of it.
Oh, this is one.
So let's say we are given m equals 4 and the point 2 comma 7. Okay, do we think that this is enough information that we could start plugging into this form?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, where our ordered pair here is x comma y, but remember this is a specific ordered pair, so this is going to be x sub 1 comma y sub 1. So we're not plugging it in for this x and y, but we're plugging it in for our specific one that has a value with it. So we will say y minus, okay, our y sub 1 is now 7.
Y minus 7.
Hang on. Okay, equals, then we're going to go to our n. So our n is now 4. Right, parenthesis times x minus,
2.
our x sub 1 is now 2, so we will fill in a 2. Okay, and that's all fine and dandy, except this one comes with a small dilemma. The small dilemma in this format is that we don't write final answers in point slope form. And my students are like, well, what the heck is the point of point slope form? Now, point slope form, remember, we needed, because if we didn't have a nice intercept, we needed another option.
What did you combine?
The problem is that point slope form, how many points are on a line?
At least 2.
There are more than 2.
A lot.
A lot, right? They're an infinite. And so all of us in here could be looking at the same line, yet all of us in here could be picking a different point. And so if we all plug in a different point, all of our equations are going to look different, but be the same. They'll be equivalent. And so if we really want to see if they are the same equation, we are going to have to solve this for y. Okay, so let's just think about this. Knowing our literal equation info from earlier in the trimester, what do we think we might want to do to solve this for y? William?
Combine like terms.
What like terms would you like to combine?
Wait, is that 7? Is that a 7y? Or no?
No, this is not a 7y because that's subtraction in between.
Well, you'd have to multiply.
So first we need to get rid of those parentheses, right? And to get rid of parentheses, we distribute. So 4 times x is 4x. 4 times, what number is this?
Negative 2.
-2. So 4 times -2 is -8. I strongly suggest you think, right, we've talked about this before. I strongly suggest you think about that as a -2 so you don't end up with 2 signs. So now we have y minus 7 equals 4 minus 8.
And we can combine like terms so we can add.
So now we can get our constants together. How do we undo subtracting 7?
Addition.
So the important piece to understand here is that point slope form is very undervalued because it doesn't actually get like a final place at the end. But it is used all the time in the background. Okay, it is what we use when we are looking at data, but we can't write our final answer that way. So regardless of what problem we are doing from now until forever, if we are asked to write the equation of a line, we are never going to leave our final answer here. You are going to just assume, because it's also like reducing a fraction, that we are going to write our final answer here. Does that make sense? Okay, so option 1, if we're given a slope and a y-intercept, what are we going to do?
Use y equivalent.
Right? We're going to use slope-intercept form. If we have undefined slope, what are we going to do? X equals, because that's a vertical line. If we're given a point and a slope, what are we going to do? Right? Point slope form, but solve it for y. This is literally all of the info we need. Next week, we are just going to talk about actually using it. Okay? There's no new information next week. We're just going to talk about applying these situations. All right? Make sure folders